They say high school is the best time of your life, but for 17-year-old Cheng Miao Miao, it is a complete disaster. Most of her daily misery is directly caused by her own younger brother. At home, Cheng Yaya is the ultimate golden child. Their mother constantly favors him over her. Frustrated by this unfair treatment, Miao Miao decides it is time to get even. Therefore, whenever her brother does not come home after school, she tells her parents and the homeroom teacher, Xiao Fang, that Cheng Yaya went to play games. When Miss Xiao Fang went to catch him, she unexpectedly did not find Cheng Yaya anywhere but caught his best friend Li Si instead. As a result, Li Si was punished by having to write a 5,000-word self-criticism essay, which was truly a tragedy on Earth. However, Cheng Yaya was not doing anything good either. He and his friends went to conduct an archaeological excavation on the back mountain and were caught on suspicion of being tomb raiders. Facing these two rebellious children, Jia Daiyu had a terrible headache and decided to punish both siblings, which left Cheng Miao Miao feeling very unconvinced. To reach the 5,000-word count for the essay, her best friend Hu Chumin came to find Cheng Miao Miao to help Li Si together. Li Si was deeply moved, saying that their friendship was solid as teeth and unbreakable. Unexpectedly, the next day, Miss Xiaofang not only punished Li Si in front of all the teachers and students by asking him to read his review, but also praised Cheng Miao Miao, saying that Cheng Miao Miao had bravely reported him. Li Si was furious as it turned out this best friend had reported him, so he immediately decided to cut ties with her. Cheng Miao Miao was very distressed and tried to think of a way to explain things to Li Si. Unexpectedly, when she arrived home, her brother told their mother that his sister had reported him to the homeroom teacher because she thought he was playing games, which nearly caused Li Si to be expelled. Knowing his son was punished, Li Dahai was furious and said that he was already 17 years old but acted like an ignorant child. His mother, Niu Lingling, loves her son dearly but is somewhat superstitious and likes to pray to God. She obtained a wealth charm for her son, claiming that with this charm, he would rank first every year and achieve great success. The next day, Cheng Yaya deliberately mentioned in front of Cheng Miao Miao that he was helping the teacher photocopy grade 10 exam questions. This made Cheng Miao Miao think they were for their class, so she stole the answers and gave them to Li Si. She also explained that the person she wanted to report that day was her brother, not him, so the two restored their unbreakable friendship. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a different set of questions, and Li Si was deceived again. This time he really wanted to end the friendship. Until being questioned by her brother, Cheng Miao Miao decided to go home and settle the score with him. What is the craziest thing you did when you were 17? It seems that during the most rebellious youth, if you do not do a few crazy things, you are doing a disservice to that age. As for Cheng Miao Miao and her friends, they chose to run away from home. The story of going to Hong Kong went like this. The trio had a hard time reconciling, so to celebrate the establishment day of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, they specially practiced a song and dance routine, hoping to represent the oil field to perform in Qingdao. Unexpectedly, because they cheated collectively last time by sharing one set of answers, they all received a 0 score. Homeroom teacher Xiao Fang disqualified them and reserved the right to punish them further. They were annoyed, saying going to Qingdao was not a big deal since it was not like performing in Hong Kong. Cheng Yaya overheard this and thought they actually wanted to go to Hong Kong, so he prepared to tell mom. Unexpectedly, Cheng Miao Miao thought this was a great idea, so the three of them spent a lot of money treating Cheng Yaya to a meal, hoping his high intelligence could help devise a plan. But since his sister usually teased him, he suspected this might be a trap and refused. However, this time, Cheng Miao Miao really wanted to go to Hong Kong to prove they were no longer children and could accomplish big things, so her mood plummeted and she did not want to eat. Although they usually fought like cats and dogs, they were still flesh and blood. Seeing his sister was sincere this time, Cheng Yaya softened his heart. To go to Hong Kong, they first had to take a bus to Qingdao, then to Shenzhen. From Shenzhen to Hong Kong would take 38 hours and 15 minutes. Everyone did not expect going to Hong Kong to be so complicated. Furthermore, arriving in Shenzhen required registering for a tour to apply for a Hong Kong entry permit, and registering for a tour required the household registration book. This meant they had to steal their parents' household registration books, so they split up to fulfill these conditions step by step. When Cheng Miao Miao and her brother went home to steal the book, their mother returned, so they pretended to be studying. This scared Jia Daiyu to death, thinking the siblings had committed some heinous crime. Cheng Yaya had to say his sister lost a bet and had to study with him, which reassured their mother. Knowing mom liked singing and dancing, Cheng Miao Miao came up with a plan to teach her their dance routine, then told Cheng Yaya to steal the key and get the household registration book. The plan went very smoothly. Li Si's side was also very quiet. He not only stole the household registration book but also stole Li Dahai's white liquor and health supplements to sell. Hu Chumin also had success. Being in a remarried family, she pretended to want to see the household registration book, causing for them to bring it out voluntarily. She also called her older brother in Shenzhen, saying she would call him when she arrived there. The first step went well for everyone, and the next step was learning Cantonese. Since Shenzhen and Hong Kong both speak Cantonese, they watched Hong Kong movies and learned Cantonese songs to practice. After a few days of hard study, they believed they had mastered the essence of Cantonese. Now the only thing missing was money, so Li Si sold his father's new car as scrap metal. He would probably be beaten to death when he got home, but they had no other choice. Then they left a note and set off for Hong Kong, dreaming of the beautiful scenery there. At this moment, Li Si could not hold it and asked the driver to stop so he could pee. Unexpectedly, he peed on a hornet's nest and was chased and stung by the bees. What to do now? Chen Miao ran away to Hong Kong, but unexpectedly, Li Si got off halfway to pee and got his face stung swollen by bees. The clever Chen Yaya saw this situation was bad, so he tricked them into believing these hornets were poisonous. If stung without timely treatment, it would lead to necrosis. They hurriedly supported Li Si to the hospital, but no cars on the road would take them. Just then, a young man on a tricycle arrived. He did not say a word on the way, making them think he was truly mute. Finally arriving at the hospital, bad luck followed as they bumped into homeroom teacher Xiao Fang. This time they were truly done for. Jia Daiyu was dragging Li Si's mother and Hu Chumin's mother to practice for the performance. Someone ran over to tell Nu Lingling that it was bad as her son had been hit by a car. Even scarier, Li Dahai had struggled to buy a new car to show off, only to discover the tires were missing. It turned out Li Si had stolen a tire to sell as scrap. That was it. Dahai angrily went to the hospital. This time Li Si was beaten severely and the whole hospital heard his cries. Jia Daiyu went home and also gave her 2 children a beating. Hu Chumin's stepfather, Yang Songbai, was also very angry and specifically called to scold his son in Shenzhen. The runaway incident temporarily settled down, and the establishment day of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region arrived as expected. Whenever we see this touching moment, we all shed tears. The reunification of the motherland is always the proudest thing for Chinese descendants. To realize his sister's dream of performing, Cheng Yai exchanged his game cards for 3 performance spots for them. They played the role of oil field machinery, serving only as background. Cheng Miao was very happy, but Li Si and Hu Chumin felt it was fine not to perform, so they became emotionless props. The performance was very successful, and Jia Daiyu was even interviewed. Li Si took Cheng Miao and Hu Chumin to eat steak. He pretended to be knowledgeable and taught them how to eat Western food, but as a result, none of the 3 knew how to use the utensils, and finally, using chopsticks was the most convenient. However, Cheng Miao was still not very happy because she truly wanted to see the world, but her mother wanted them to stay and inherit the oil field career. Seeing his daughter depressed, Cheng Pengfei used his childhood dream of becoming a doctor to encourage her. He said that having a dream is a very serious matter. In the stumbling years of youth, everyone eventually grows up, but when you become an adult, seeing beautiful scenery and eating delicious food, you realize that nothing is more flavorful or vivid than youth. Not having time to educate children means not having time to be a decent human being. Recently, a wealth creation expert came saying that even if the ladies do not cook or do laundry every day, it is all for the sake of their children. But what children need is success, and success implies taking shortcuts. So he wrote a curriculum ranging from grade 9 all the way to bankruptcy. The mothers had never seen such a grand spectacle and were all deceived. They bought boxes of textbooks and functional supplements. When Cheng Pengfei returned home and saw this, he found it very strange. In short, the parents of the 3 families all had different opinions regarding their children, leading to endless arguments. Jia Daiyu got agitated and immediately mentioned divorce. Cheng Yaya happened to return home and heard everything. Originally, they had not even touched their summer homework, and now they were gifted another drama by this scammer. The exam papers were like seawater. You could basically never finish them. The next day, Hu Yue wanted to attend her mother-in-law's birthday party. However, her mother-in-law disliked her bringing her daughter along and did not let her go, leading to a quarrel with Yang Songbai. Seeing her mother being wronged, Hu Chumin was very sad, but did not know what to do. The miserable children thought about it and decided that their parents should still get a divorce. Even Li Si, who was just out of pocket money, advised his mother to divorce his father, which was truly defying the natural order. In an instant, the news that they wanted to divorce spread everywhere, so Jia Daiyu went home and gave Cheng Miao a beating. The children were depressed again. Why did they not divorce if they were clearly unhappy living together? together, but instead joined forces to beat their children. After this misunderstanding, the parents felt that these children either had too little homework or too few beatings, and they definitely needed to be educated properly. Jia Daiyu's first love returned to serve as the secretary. Hearing that she wanted a divorce, he came to do some ideological work. She and Cheng Pengfei tried to prove in front of him that they were living very happily. Only when looking back did they realize that this simple life was actually true happiness. Jia Daiyu was finally able to let go. Seeing her parents so affectionate, Cheng Miaomiao finally realized she had misunderstood them too much. On the first day of school, a girl walked into the class and was immediately despised by her classmates because her father was a wanted criminal. The girl's name was Yuan Shanqing. Her father, Yuan Yong, had defrauded oil field workers of their money and ran away, causing Luo Zheng's grandmother to jump into the river to commit suicide, which the whole oil field knew about. Cheng Yaya looked at the birthmark behind Yuan Shanqing's ear and seemed to feel a sense of familiarity. He was even teased for having noticed her. As for Cheng Miaomiao and her friends, they moved from grade 10 to grade 11. In high school, they did not separate into different streams, so they remained classmates. Only the class officers were re-elected. In addition, there was a new homeroom teacher named Cao Feiyang, who was in charge of teaching literature, and his junior, Han Shu, also came here to be the homeroom teacher of grade 10, specifically Cheng Yaya's class, in charge of teaching English. Besides these three new people, there was also a transfer student. It was the mute boy named Qian Shaohua, who had driven Li Si back on a tricycle that day. It turned out he was a local child who previously studied at a village school. To let him see more of the world, his grandfather spent all his savings to transfer him to the oil field high school. Li Si, with his status as a rich kid of the oil field, was really not used to seeing someone more arrogant than himself. Cheng Miaomiao told him not to be too arrogant, or he would be dealt with by his father. Han Shu, being a homeroom teacher for the first time, encountered a student who was the child of a wanted criminal. She asked her senior what to do. Cao Feiyang told her that a wanted criminal is a wanted criminal, but a student is a student. As long as they are her students, she must be responsible for them. Cheng Miaomiao took the initiative to get to know Qian Shaohua, saying she did not have time to thank him that day, so she definitely wanted to be friends with him. However, Cheng Shaohua still did not want to talk to her. Hearing that Cheng Yaya became deskmates with the daughter of a wanted criminal, Cheng Miaomiao and Jia Daiyu both scolded him for being a busybody. What if he caused public outrage and got implicated? Cheng Peng said they were short-sighted. The father, being a wanted criminal, had nothing to do with the daughter. The child was innocent. Did anyone think about that girl's feelings? These two new students had many problems. Qian Shaohua did not wear a uniform. His hair was too long. His Mandarin was poor, and he had a heavy local accent. As for Yuan Shanqing, not only was she shunned by friends, but she was also frequently late for school. When Luo Zheng saw her arrive, and while no teacher was there, they actually rushed into a fight immediately. Seeing them about to fight, unexpectedly Li Si and Qian Shaohua on the other side fought first. This was the episode with the most fighting scenes in the series. Grade 10 fought, then grade 11, then grade 12. Those with hair too old for school also fought, and even the police catching gambling wanted to fight. People say that youth without ever fighting is not a complete youth, because Qian Shaohua always ignored Li Si. Li Si slipped up and asked if he had no parents to teach him, which led to him being beaten by Qian Shaohua. It was still Cheng Miaomiao who ran over to say it was a misunderstanding, claiming they read too many martial arts novels and were sparring. Mr. Cao also saw through their trick, saying that men fighting is a very low act. If they dared to fight again in the future, he would call their parents to deal with them. It took a lot of effort to rescue them. Cheng Miaomiao saw her brother and Luo Zheng, who were covered in injuries, being taken into the office. To protect Yuan Shanqing, they still rushed into a fight. Knowing her brother had been beaten, Cheng Miaomiao immediately flew into a rage. Li Si was unhappily going to play games when he met Da Guo, his father's henchman. Da Guo borrowed money from him, promising to pay back double later. At first, he did not believe it. Unexpectedly, Da Guo went into a room, came out, and actually gave him double the amount. It turned out that inside was a small casino. This was absolutely prohibited in the oil field, but Li Si seemed to have discovered a path to achieving financial freedom. Since childhood, he had loved watching movies. Whether it was card switching or shuffling techniques, he had practiced them to perfection. The next day, Cheng Yaya was fine and went to school as usual. However, the classmate who tried to intervene ended up looking like a pig's head from the beating. Yuan Shanqing was also very moved and used a note to ask Cheng Yaya if he was okay. Cheng Yaya replied that he was fine and told her not to worry. Cheng Miaomiao was thinking of a way to help her brother take revenge, so she grabbed a dumbbell and rushed into class 10A, demanding standing to beat Luo Zheng, but Cheng Yaya hurriedly pulled her back. Her uncle Jiao Baoshan got into a fight with another driver over a traffic collision. It turned out he had always secretly loved Nurse Xiaoying at the hospital and was always making excuses to go there. With no other choice, Jia Daiyu took her brother home. Li Si then told him about the casino in the recreation center. So the next day, the two disguised themselves and went to the casino, but as a result, they were arrested by the police. Meanwhile, the mothers ran into that scammer while getting their hair done and were also taken to the police station. Just like that, the whole group met up at the police station. At 17, they never knew that behind a life of plenty, there were many sinister dangers. There were bad guys, scammers, gamblers, and many temptations and traps. In youth, who does not have to pay a price for maturity? What makes a beautiful 17-year-old girl think irrationally? Perhaps it is family. The families spent the whole night at the police station and finally cleared everything up. The two of them were pulled back by Chang Shaohua as soon as they entered, so they had not had time to participate in gambling. They were only fined and then released. As for Jiao Baoshan, because of this trouble, he was kicked out of the house by Jia Daiyu. Nu Lingling could not understand how someone as smart and beautiful as herself could give birth to such a stupid son. To completely suppress Chang Shaohua, Li Si decided he must study hard, so Cheng Yaya introduced him to a textbook about the origin of human writing, the Xinhua Dictionary. The Xinhua Dictionary was not hard to understand, but Cheng Miao did not understand the moves in martial arts. Novels. The two of them discussed love for the first time. It turned out that Li Dahai once got drunk, hugged a photo, and cried. That woman's name was Si Shuang. Perhaps his father abandoned Si Shuang to marry his mother in order to climb the social ladder. Finally, it was time for the class officer election, but as a result, Cheng Miao received only one vote. Even Hu Chumin felt that casting this vote for her was a waste. Cheng Miao was so depressed that she stopped attending gym class. Cao Feiyang sought her out for a talk. Hearing that she really liked Qiao Feng from Demigods and Semi-Devils, he asked her if Qiao Feng ever claimed to be the leader of the martial arts world. As children, we all dream of becoming heroes, and Cheng Miao was no exception, so she pulled herself together and asked Li Si and Hu Chumin to help her win over Chang Shaohua. The two of them agreed without hesitation. After all, they were best friends. However, unexpectedly, Hu Chumin chose to jump into the river the very next day. What exactly happened? They started growing up together from a young age. As childhood friends, the trio had always been carefree. No matter how difficult things were, they overcame them together. But as they grew up, family changes turned what was once an unhesitating friendship into strangers who might never meet again. Every girl has a princess dream, but Hu Chumin didn't like wearing dresses and even wanted to cut her hair short to be buddies with Li Si. Her family's blending was a bit rushed, and the two adults didn't understand each other very well. Hu Yue had a rather sensitive and guarded personality. If anything seemed off with Yang Songbai, she would suspect him of having an affair with another woman. Living like this was truly unsustainable. When Li Si got angry, it was just a fleeting temper, but when Hu Chumin got angry, it was no small matter. Seeing her daughter cut off her beloved long hair, the furious Hu Yue slapped her. Hu Chumin didn't want to live this life anymore. She'd rather die, thinking death would end it all. Hearing the news, Chen Miao and Li Si rushed over, and Li Si immediately panicked. She broke down, wondering why people have to get married and why she was brought into this world. At that moment, Hu Yue and Yang Songbai also arrived. Even at this point, Yang Songbai was still afraid they would lose face. Hu Yue only had her daughter left. If her daughter were gone, how could she go on living? She was so stressed that she knelt down to beg her daughter. After all this drama, the person who actually wanted to die the most was Hu Yu. So, without thinking, she turned around and jumped down. Li Si, being sharp-eyed, ran over to pull her back, but unexpectedly fell in with her. Li Si told Cheng Yaya to get this good deed published in the newspaper, so the school would expunge his previous serious offense. It turned out Cao Feiyang had sought out Chang Shaohua to talk about uniforms and happened to see the chaotic scene, so he saved them in time. Nu Lingling was very grateful to Mr. Cao. Not knowing how to repay him, she decided to use her cousin to return the favor, so she introduced her 23-year-old cousin, Yanzi, who was waiting to be married, to Mr. Cao. After this incident, Yang Songbai restrained himself much more, and Hu Chumin's bond with her mother deepened. Conversely, at school, Li Si's father fired a worker for stealing oil, which subjected Li Si to moral criticism from everyone because that worker's son was their classmate. That evening, when Cheng Yaya went to the hospital to deliver food to his father, he saw Yuan Shanqing in a miserable state, covered in blood. What happened to her this time? We only hear about children bringing trouble to their fathers, but unexpectedly, there are fathers who bring trouble to their daughters. Yuan Yong swindled the worker's money and fled, leaving poor Yuan Shanqing to attend school while caring for her 2-year-old sister. Shiaozi, Xiaozi. The workers who were swindled were burly men who brought a large wolfhound to demand money. They wanted to snatch Yuan Shangqing's last bit of money, scaring Xiaozi into screaming and crying. Finally, during the struggle, the wolfhound bit both Xiaozi and Yuan Shangqing. Agitated, Yuan Shangqing grabbed a knife and chased after them, finally driving them away. But at that time, a rabies vaccine shot was not cheap at all, especially for Yuan Shanqing, who didn't have much money. Just then, she met Cheng Yaya and borrowed money from him to get the shot for her sister first. Seeing this, Cheng Yaya immediately borrowed money from his father to help her pay the bill. Although Yuan Shangqing didn't want to owe any more money, since it was already paid, it couldn't be taken back. Only then did Yuan Shangqing agree to get the shot. Cheng Pengfei was also very warm-hearted. He brought a teddy bear for Xiaozi to play with, and Xiaozi played happily. Cheng Pengfei said this money wouldn't be deducted from his son's allowance, so he should just take it. Seeing that his blockheaded son wouldn't make a move, how could he ever get a daughter-in-law? Cheng Pengfei had to lend a hand. Cheng Yaya saw the red writing on the wall and the messy scene in the house, feeling uncomfortable in his heart. It turned out that when he was young, he had fallen into a pit. Little Yuan Shangqing also fell in while trying to save him, but Yuan Shangqing had been resilient since childhood. Not only did she not cry, but she also comforted Cheng Yaya until Cheng Pengfei came to rescue him. Therefore, in Cheng Yaya's heart, Yuan Shangqing was his light. Now he has decided that he wants to be Yuan Shangqing's light. Seeing she had a fever, Cheng Yaya not only took her to the hospital for an IV drip, but also bought milk and steamed buns to nourish her. On Li Si's side, he put in a good word with his father for his classmate, but ultimately, that was a decision made by the higher-ups of the oil company. It wasn't just Li Dahai who wanted to fire the worker who stole oil. Li Si even got beaten by Li Dahai for it. However, the classmates didn't understand at all, claiming they were using their authority to bully people. Chen Miao Miao saw that her comforting had no effect on him. Therefore, she sought out Tao Feiyan, hoping he had a way to help these two classmates. Tao Feiyan was surprised. She wasn't the class monitor yet, was still so enthusiastic, which moved him a bit. So he spoke frankly, saying he could ask them to shut their mouths, stop gossiping, and not bring irrelevant matters into school. But would they really listen? What kind of person do we really want to become? Sometimes things are out of our control, but never be afraid of what others think of you. Chen Miao Miao and Hu Chumin were walking on the street when they saw Chang Xiaowa selling fish by the roadside. Here, he was as happy and lively as a monkey. Seeing his innocent and lovely smile, Chen Miao Miao felt he was a kind person and shouldn't be given up on like that. So, she brought the sausages. Li Si liked best to bribe Ba Bao. Both Li Si and dogs like this sausage. Who knows what brand it is? Chang Xiaowa did not welcome this uninvited friend. Stepping into the boat cabin, she discovered that Chang Xiaowa's home was just 4 wooden planks of a boat. Fortunately, this boat wasn't small and had 2 decks. The grandfather and grandson living together could still make ends meet. Standing on the bow looking out at the sea for the first time, she felt her heart open up with joy and shouted out loud. On the other side, Cheng Yaya used the excuse that Xiaozi had forgotten to take the teddy bear last time to run over to Yuan Shangqing's house. When Cheng Yaya played with Xiaozi, he discovered a problem. Xiaozi was already 2.5 years old, so why couldn't she speak yet? Seeing Yuan Shangqing look a bit tense, Cheng Yaya feared she would worry, so he hurriedly said that everyone develops differently. It was also dinner time when Cheng Miao Miao learned that Chang Xiaowa had been found and adopted by his grandfather. To save money, he never wanted to buy a uniform or get a haircut. Cheng Miao Miao was moved and wanted to help Chang Xiaowa even more. Having eaten and drunk to her heart's content, Cheng Miao Miao felt the food was delicious and said she would come again next time to eat and take leftovers. Chang Xiaowa called her shameless. Unexpectedly, just as the happy Cheng Miao Miao went out the door, she bumped into Ba Bao. Over at Yuan Shangqing's, Xiaozi fell asleep after eating. Cheng Yaya suggested they eat too, but they discovered only 2 steamed buns remained in the bag. Cheng Yaya took out a packet of milk powder, saying he usually didn't eat dinner because he discovered a new way to eat milk powder, eating it dry. Their relationship grew a step closer. Returning home, the siblings were naturally scolded. Although Cheng Miao Miao brought back a pile of seafood, she had fallen while being chased by Ba Bao. Moreover, their parents felt that it wasn't like there was no food at home, so why run to someone else's house to eat? Cheng Pengfei comforted his wife, telling her that children have infinite possibilities. If they kept stopping them from helping others, it might very well extinguish the kindness and sense of justice in the children's hearts. The next day, Cheng Miao Miao and Chang Xiaowa's relationship progressed significantly. Seeing this, Li Si got jealous and told Chang Xiaowa that he had wanted to marry her since he was 3 years old. Cheng Miao thought that after this, Chang Xiaowa would be willing to accept her help, so she brought her brother's unworn uniform and an old desk for him. But Unexpectedly, this hurt Chang Xiaowa's pride. However, the next day, Chang Xiaowa still wore the uniform and got a haircut to come to. Seeing this, Mr. Cao praised Cheng Miao. Meanwhile, Yuan Shanqing was taken away from school by the police. Becoming a good person requires a lot of courage, because your one-sided enthusiasm might be rejected by others from a distance. There are always people carrying many secrets, so they become people whom everyone says are not good people. Yet, no one has ever cared about their true selves or the price they bear. When children cry, it's completely uncontrollable. Even more ridiculous is, why was there a 2-year-old child in the room of a 17-year-old high school student? After Yuan Shanqing was taken away by the police, she was still very worried. Although she knew she hadn't broken the law, she feared being late to pick up her sister. It turned out her father, Yuan Yong, had secretly returned. Recently, Yuan Yong had not only robbed money from many people, but also assaulted them. Fearing that Yuan Yong might come to demand money from Yuan Shanqing and harm her, the police had no choice but to take her away first. However, she still needed to attend school. Mr. Cao stated they would cooperate fully with the police, but Yuan Shanqing revealed that her sister was missing, and she didn't know who had picked her up. Fortunately, Cheng Pengfei called them back. It turned out that when Yuan Shanqing was taken away, Luo Zheng had led the charge, claiming Yuan Shanqing was definitely an accomplice, and that was why she was arrested, causing the other classmates to jump on the bandwagon. Cheng Yaya stood up alone, confronting the entire class. He told them not to slander others arbitrarily without evidence. Originally, he only wanted to visit Shiaozi, but since Grandma Chen had to go to the hospital, he took Shiaozi straight to his home. Jia Daiyu scolded Cheng Yaya with her words for bringing the daughter of a wanted criminal home, but her hands were busy preparing milk formula. Cheng Pengfei brought Mr. Cao and Yuan Shanqing to the house. Seeing Shiaozi, Yuan Shanqing emotionally hugged the little girl. She had been indescribably worried just moments before. It was getting late, so Yuan Shanqing took Shiaozi home. Seeing this, Cheng Yaya hurriedly put on his shoes, but Mr. Cao said he would take them home instead. They thought everything would be fine back at school. But while Yuan Shanqing was in the restroom, her classmates threw all her belongings out. Furious, Cheng Yaya stood up for her again. He encouraged her and declared in front of everyone that she was also a victim and had the right to study there. With the Mid-Autumn Festival approaching, Cheng Yaya packed all sorts of food to bring to Yuan Shanqing. He practically wanted to carry his entire house over there. Although they perfectly missed each other, their souls were in sync. To thank Cheng Yaya, Yuan Shanqing had also bought a box of mooncakes for him and returned the money. In the process of growing up, the people who accompany us the most, besides our parents, are our teachers. This movie will show you just how important a good teacher is to one's life. Being children of oil field workers, the best thing is receiving a living allowance every month. Yuan Shanqing wanted to get a household registration for her sister, Shiaozi, so she could attend school later. However, since her parents never had a marriage certificate and her sister lacked a birth certificate, it couldn't be done. Seeing Yuan Shanqing released, Luo Zheng's mother was dissatisfied. She led a group of aggressive parents to the school to cause trouble for Yuan Shanqing. Cheng Miao and her friends, upon receiving the news, ran to Class 1A, pulled Cheng Yaya and Yuan Shanqing out, and took them to the astronomy room to hide. Don't let Miss Xiaofang's usual strictness with students fool you. When something happens, she really steps up. Seeing these parents occupying Yuan Shanqing's classroom and refusing to leave, she charged right in and fought with them. It wasn't until Mr. Cao found Cheng Miao and the others that they realized the matter had been resolved. After these events, Miss Xiaofang had no choice but to speak to everyone on behalf of the school. Seeing Miss Xiaofang fresh from a fight, everyone was stunned. At school, everyone is her child, and protecting the children's safety is her utmost duty. From today, security patrols will be increased, and additionally, a school dormitory room will be reserved for Yuan Shanqing. Luo Zheng also apologized to Yuan Shanqing, explaining that he wasn't the one who called his mother. In fact, after this period, Luo Zheng realized that Yuan Shanqing was even more pitiful than he was, and everyone laid aside their prejudices. In the recent mock exam, Chang Xiaowa ranked first, shocking the entire class. Since Cheng Miao stopped talking to Chang Xiaowa, she had completely given up on communicating with him. But even more shocking was Li Si. He casually copied a few of Chang Xiaowa's answers and managed to break into the top 10. Cheng Miao didn't fare much better. Although she altered her grades, it was still noticeable. After the parent-teacher meeting, a restless Li Si cleaned the house thoroughly, hoping his father would go easy on him during the beating. Li Dahai found it strange, wondering why his son was acting so foolishly. It turned out, Mr. Cao didn't announce the grades to the parents, but instead shared child-rearing methods with them. Chang Xiaowa's grandfather was very grateful to Mr. Cao and gifted him a basket of seafood. Mr. Cao immediately gave money to Chang Xiaowa. Xiaozi, saying that he would buy seafood from them every month from now on. They promised each other that after graduation, they would work in the factory office. In the blossoming age of youth, who hasn't secretly harbored a crush in their heart, Qiangdao sought out the police officer, telling him how pitiful it was for Yuan Shanqing to care for her 2-year-old sister all alone. After being taken away by the officers, she was misunderstood by her classmates and parents, so he hoped the officer could come to the school to clarify things. The officer took one look, and, seeing that, although the boy was bold, he had a beautiful soul, agreed immediately. Having said he liked Cheng Miao Miao since he was 3, Li Si already considered her his wife. He told her there was no point in going to the big city, and that after graduation, they should work in the oil factory office together. Hu Chumin believed that big cities were their way out. Youth meant going out into the vast world to experience things, just like her brother. Cheng Yaya told Yuan Shanqing and Shiaozi to put on more clothes. The two of them looked like a sweet couple. Jediyu saw it all and panicked, thinking her son was dating early. She hurriedly consulted Cheng Pengfei, insisting they must have a serious talk with Cheng Yaya that night. They asked him if he was dating, but he denied it. Hu Yue suffered acute appendicitis and required surgery. This time, Yang Songbai not only cared for her very responsibly, but also told Hu Chumin to go home and rest early so her studies wouldn't be affected. For the first time, Hu Chumin felt he was like a father. Recently, the school was organizing a singing contest, so Cheng Yaya proposed that they take turns helping look after Shiaozi. Everyone entered childcare mode. Li Si wanted to play basketball and even dragged Qian Xiaowa along. However, Shiaozi never spoke, and fearing she had an intellectual disability, everyone took her for a checkup. Unexpectedly, Shiaozi's inability to speak wasn't due to an intellectual disability. Rather, she couldn't hear, meaning she was likely congenitally deaf-mute. At the age of 16 or 17, everyone tells you not to date early, but no one tells you why. But in that innocence, the person you secretly like embodies the very first form of love in your life. When learning that her sister might become deaf-mute, Yuan Shanqing cried like rain, constantly blaming herself for not taking good care of her sister when she was young. It turned out that Shiaozi was not born from the same mother as her. After Yuan Shanqing's biological mother passed away, Yuan Yong found a somewhat indecent woman outside. After they had Shiaozi, they ignored her, spending every day out partying. Once, during a heavy rainstorm, Yuan Shanqing returned home to discover Shiaozi all alone. Hearing such a tragic story, even the strongest person would shed tears. Yuan Shanqing thought that Shiaozi's inability to hear might be due to a fever. She remembered that when Shiaozi was born, she still reacted to being called. Upon re-examination, it was indeed discovered that the condition was acquired later. With surgery to install a cochlear implant, Shiaozi could live like a normal person. The story of Cheng Pengfei asking for subsidies quickly spread. Homeroom teacher Xiao Fang led the donation drive at school, with teachers and students lending a helping hand one after another. Even Luo Zhang, who used to hate Yuan Shanqing, donated to support her. The leaders of the oil industry also broadcasted appeals in the residential areas, calling on everyone to donate to Shiaozi. Adversity truly reveals true feelings. Yuan Shanqing was deeply moved and wrote a sincere letter thanking everyone, hoping that everyone would have a good life. The time for the singing contest was approaching. To teach standard Mandarin to Qiang Xiaowa, Cheng Miao Miao and a few others used their break time to help him practice. In return, Qiang Xiaowa helped them review their schoolwork. However, Hu Chumin was quite competitive. She wanted to do better than Qiang Xiaowa every time. Yuan Shanqing also took the initiative to befriend Luo Zhang. Seeing the usually hot-tempered Luo Zhang almost blush was a bit funny to everyone. Finally, the competition day arrived. Unexpectedly, the grade 12 students and teachers all had to paint their faces red. Usually, the previous acts were bearable, but seeing Mr. Cao made it impossible to hold back laughter. Class 12A1 was led by Cheng Miao Miao. Surprisingly, seeing her recent enthusiasm, Mr. Cao gave her the opportunity to be the lead, singing the Song of Youth together. Whether it was good or bad, we won't judge for now, but in terms of humor, their class was definitely number 1. The final performance was the poem Seabird by Class 11A1, authored by Yuan Shanqing. At this moment, Li Si realized a problem. Why didn't grade 11 need to paint their faces red? Yuan Shanqing's sister's surgery was very successful. After the donation drive across the oil industry, the surgery costs for Shiaozi were finally covered. Since Li Dahai's production line had a new task, Yang Songbai accompanied Cheng Pengfei to take Shiaozi to Beijing for the surgery. Because she had to attend school, Yuan Shanqing couldn't see them off, so she still felt a little uneasy deep down. Just as Cheng Pengfei and Yang Songbai got in the car to head to Beijing, Jia Baoshan arrived on a cool motorcycle. It turned out he had broken up with his new lover and was kicked out by his mother, so he had to come to his his sister's place for refuge. How can love be measured by money? Li Si believed that if he became a director in the future, gifting the entire factory to Cheng Miao Miao wouldn't be a problem. The next morning, over a dozen flower pots went missing from Jia Dayu's garden, and she even injured her leg while looking for them. Yuan Shanqing bought canned peaches to visit her. Jia Dayu suspected there was a thief. To prevent the thief from continuing to steal flowers, during dinner, Jia Dayu told Jia Baoshan to stay in the garden. However, as soon as Yuan Shanqing heard there was a place to stay, she voluntarily came the next day to help care for the garden and said she wanted to move in there. Her current place was arranged by a leader and required rent. Cheng Yaya, on the other hand, was worried. What if there really was a thief? Yuan Shanqing reasoned that if the thief saw light at night, they wouldn't dare come again. Seeing how much she wanted to live in the garden, Cheng Yaya had to agree. The cousins helped her clean up the garden and move, even borrowing Chang Xiao's tricycle to help transport things. They arranged the room beautifully. Plus, you could see stars there at night. The next day, she invited everyone for a housewarming meal to celebrate. Although Hu Chuman couldn't make it because she was waiting for a phone call from her brother, she sent her congratulations. Yuan Shanqing said she liked this place very much and planned to plant a flower pot with Cheng Yaya, naming it Qingdao. Unexpectedly, that night, two thieves actually came to steal the flowers. While everyone was worried about whether something had happened to Yuan Shanqing, she proved to be both smart and brave, taking advantage of the darkness to secretly follow them. The next day, she asked Jia Dayu to call the security department, and the thieves were caught red-handed. It turned out they were outsiders who broke in, intending to steal the flowers to sell elsewhere. Everyone believed that this girl was destined for great things in the future, and finally, life was treating her kindly for once. Shiaozi's surgery was very successful, and barring any surprises, they would return the following week. When Shiaozi returned after the surgery, Chen Pengfei said she could currently only hear faint sounds. Yuan Shanqing's life finally had a ray of hope. There are many times in life when you have no idea what a certain action will lead to. Just like a planted flower, it may not bloom fully, but it holds the hope of growth. Faced with such kind elders and such good teachers, is scoring only 30 points the way to repay them? Love is an eternal theme for humanity. It is because of love that the world is so colorful. But what does this have to do with a bunch of kids? Unexpectedly, on this trip to Beijing, Yang Songbai didn't have time to buy anything else, but he specifically remembered Hu Chumin mentioning she wanted a new Walkman. Receiving a gift from this stepfather for the first time, both mother and daughter were stunned. It seemed Yang Songbai had truly changed. Yuan Shanqing wanted to take Shiaozi to Grandma Chen for babysitting, but Jia Dayu took the child immediately upon seeing them, saying not to bother the elderly. Since she was free, she would treat it as practice for looking after a grandchild. Unexpectedly, when she spoke to Shiaozi, the little girl nodded, though it happened in a moment she didn't notice. Getting to play with everyone for the first time, Yuan Shanqing started playing volleyball. However, both of her serves landed squarely on Luo Zhang. Jiao Baoshan, considered the king of the kids, treated everyone to barbecue, taking the opportunity to brag to the children about his past prowess. Meanwhile, Nu Lingling called Jia Dayu and Hu Yue to go to the disco to drink and dance, teaching Hu Yue to live well for herself and not to place too much importance on Yang Songbai, to just live her own life happily. The uncle wasn't finished dealing with things either. He didn't just unleash a stream of complaints about teachers assigning too much homework and calling parents in, but he also talked about his views on love. The kids didn't really understand these things, so they just treated it as story time. Hu Yue got drunk and went home to give Yang Songbai a stern scolding. Seeing Yang Songbai's submissive demeanor, Hu Chumin, who was peeking, almost fainted from laughter. Jia Dayu and her brother came home in an even worse state. The two were so drunk they barely looked human and vomited all over the floor. Cheng Miaomiao thought it was best to stay away from the battlefield. Compared to that, Nu Lingling was truly happy. Her husband not only loved her very much, but was also a director. Recently, Cheng Miaomiao had been worried about too many things, so her English score dropped to just 30. The teacher could really no longer tolerate it and demanded she bring a parent the next day. Meanwhile, hearing that Luo Zheng asked Yuan Shanqing to play volleyball, Cheng Yaya felt jealous for the first time. Finding volleyball a bit boring, he suggested playing table tennis instead. Knowing Cheng Miaomiao had to call a parent, Jia Baoshan got angry again. He hated teachers who called parents the most. Then he volunteered to go there as her parent the next day. The next day, Xiaofang arrived at the office. She didn't see anyone but discovered a box of dumplings. Jia Baoshan mistook her for the English teacher, scolding her for being a model teacher, yet not preparing lessons properly and stealing food instead. Unexpectedly, when he turned around and saw the beautiful Han Shu, Jia Baoshan fell head over heels. Initially, Initially, he said he would help Cheng Miao teach the teacher a lesson, but now he ended up joining the teacher to lecture her. Cheng Miao angrily scolded him, asking if he was really her uncle, and then chased him out of the school gate. Knowing Cheng Yaya's birthday was approaching, Yuan Shanqing wrote wishes on small pieces of paper every night. The whole family spent a large sum of money to buy a computer for Cheng Yaya. At that time, not every family could afford a computer. Cheng Yaya was indescribably happy and planned to hold a birthday party in the evening. Jia Baoshan told Cheng Yaya to invite his classmates, specifically instructing him to make sure to invite Han Shu. Going ice skating for the first time, Yuan Shanqing was a bit flustered. She couldn't even stand steadily in the skates, so she said she wouldn't participate and would wait there. But if you don't know how to do something, you have to learn. Unexpectedly, Chang Xiaowa glided across the ice like the wind, leaving everyone stunned. Everyone wondered how he, a newcomer, seemed to know everything. Cheng Miao's fondness for him increased even more. It turned out that Chang Xiaowa lived by the sea, and every winter when the water froze, he would skate there. All in all, everyone had a great time and even formed a long line. In the evening, Jia Baoshan roasted a leg of lamb for everyone. He used to be a chef at a 5-star hotel. In reality, he had many skills, but he just didn't like being tied down, which was why he appeared so free-spirited. Only after everyone had left did Yuan Shanqing dare to give the lucky stars and cake to Cheng Yaya. If this doesn't count as love, then what is it? The best way to win a woman's heart is through her stomach. Jia Baoshan stewed chicken early in the morning and brought it to the school. But unexpectedly, it was eaten by homeroom teacher Xiao Fang. Chang Xiaowa didn't go to school that day, so Cheng Miao went to see what was wrong. However, she only found his dog, Ba Bao, at home, so she ended up hugging the dog and waiting all day. When Chang Xiaowa arrived and saw Cheng Miao shivering from the cold, he didn't quite understand. He wanted to explain. Seeing that Chang Xiaowa hadn't attended school, Cheng Miao assumed he was sick and had gone to the seaside to visit him. It turned out he wasn't sick, but the old principal of his village was. In their area, there were only elementary and middle schools, no high schools. Originally, he wanted to go to work with his brother, but the old principal said there was a high school in the oil field and hoped Qingdao could continue his education to become the first college student in their village. Regrettably, the old principal had visited oil field high schools No. 1, 2, and 3, but no principal would accept him. After many hardships, Chang Xiaowa had given up, which was why he didn't even want to cut his hair. But the old principal borrowed grade 10 textbooks for him to self-study. So Chang Xiaowa began learning the grade 10 curriculum on his own. The old principal hadn't been idle that year either. He went everywhere begging and pulling strings for him, finally reaching Oilfield High School. No. 2. His sister, Hua Er, was being forced by their parents to work to help earn money for her brother's betrothal gift. However, she also yearned to continue her education, so the two decided to ask Mr. Cao for help to see if they could secure another transfer spot. Seeing Cheng Miao and Chang Xiaowa doing something secretive again, Li Si felt incredibly cold and left out. However, Mr. Cao couldn't make a decision immediately. He wanted to meet Hua Er with them after school, before deciding. So, after school, Cheng Miao and Chang Xiaowa hurriedly left together again. After speaking with Hua Er, Mr. Cao discovered that her grades were actually not bad, and she had a strong will to change her destiny, so he went back to find Xiao Fang. However, Xiao Fang couldn't make a direct decision on this matter either. When Chang Xiaowa walked Cheng Miao home, they were blocked by Li Si, who asked where they had been so late. Seeing this, Chang Xiaowa ran away immediately. Cheng Miao was very angry and asked him what he was crazy about. She truly wanted to annoy Li Si to death. Back home, Li Si even dared to scold Li Dahai, showing some real nerve. Li Dahai suspected he might have taken the wrong medicine. The next day, knowing Xiao Fang didn't agree, Cheng Miao decided to go beg Xiao Fang herself. She dragged Chang Xiaowa to the dormitory to find her, but unexpectedly, she wasn't there. It turned out that Jia Baoshan wanted to invite Han Shu out, but was caught by Xiao Fang. To help Han Shu escape the situation, she intentionally trapped Jia Baoshan, allowing Han Shu to leave. As a result, the two of them ended up talking and getting drunk together. Cheng Miao and the others waited until midnight and finally saw someone helping Xiao Fang back. Xiao Fang looked quite cute when drunk. Cheng Miao thought her uncle was a beast, so she angrily scolded him. Jia Baoshan was also very helpless. The scene was chaotic for a moment, but luckily, it was finally explained clearly. After this, Cheng Miao thought that if her uncle could woo Xiao Fang, then Hua Er's transfer spot would have hope. Destiny can be changed through effort. For a drunk person, the scariest thing is not having a headache the next morning, but remembering the embarrassing things they did the night before. Xiao Fang not only had those two things, but she also had an allergic reaction. Hu Chumin heard Cheng Miao say she wanted her uncle to pursue Xiao Fang and immediately thought this was a good thing. Qiang Xiaowa immediately asked when she would become her aunt. The biggest problem is that there is no big problem. Cheng Miao Miao confidently bounced over to find Xiao Fang. Cheng Miao Miao immediately coaxed her, saying that her uncle praised her all day yesterday, saying she was a good and beautiful person. It is rare to find someone who understands oneself like that. So Xiao Fang was also very happy in her heart. Seeing her happy, Cheng Miao Miao immediately begged her to help Hua Er. She thanked Xiao Fang on behalf of Hua Er and her uncle. Xiao Fang thought this was not a bad thing, so she agreed to think of a way. However, Cheng Miao Miao's plan was wishful thinking, as Jia Baoshan still liked the beautiful Han Shu in his heart. Seeing Xiao Fang eat his 8 treasures duck of love, he was heartbroken because Han Shu had not eaten yet. Xiao Fang was in a good mood, so she told Mr. Cao to prepare a set of questions for Hua Er during the final exam. Mr. Cao did not expect her to be so thoughtful and was very happy. He gave the teaching materials to Qiang Xiaowa and told him to go home and guide Hua Er well. Unexpectedly, Jia Baoshan saw that Han Shu had not eaten the 8 treasures duck, so he went home to make another portion and brought it to her at night. Xiao Fang thought he came to find her again, so she dressed up beautifully. Unexpectedly, Jia Baoshan went to Han Shu's place. Xiao Fang heard it right at that moment and angrily chased him away. A good hand of cards was played terribly. Just when everyone thought Hua Er's exam would be cancelled, Mr. Cao said that Xiao Fang had already arranged a time for Hua Er. After being tutored by Qiang Xiaowa, Hua Er's grades also improved significantly. Everyone was full of confidence, and Li Si even gave Hua Er a pencil case, which was truly wonderful. Unexpectedly, the next day, the only thing they waited for was Qiang Xiaowa beaten until his head bled. It turned out that Hua Er's parents appeared at the critical moment and forced her to go home to work. Seeing that others did not even have the opportunity to study, Cheng Miao Miao finally decided to cherish the opportunity to go to school. Her mother died, her father committed a crime, her sister was sick, and she was broken. The wanted criminal Yuan Yong finally came to the door. He secretly followed Yuan Shanqing back to her place and asked for a bowl of noodles to eat. It could be seen that Yuan Shanqing and Shiaozi had fear engraved in their bones. The next day, Cheng Yaya came to find Yuan Shanqing. Yuan Yong had to pull out a knife to threaten Yuan Shanqing, telling her to pretend she was not at home. Although Cheng Yaya felt it was a bit strange, he thought she was really not at home, so he left. After winter break, everyone had more time. Cheng Miao Miao wanted to visit Qiang Xiaowa, and Li Si got jealous again. The winter seaside was very cold, and Qiang Xiaowa went to pull a cart of coal back. Cheng Miao Miao did not complain at all, and helped him transport it together. It seemed she really liked Qiang Xiaowa. Since knowing Xiao Fang's tolerance and truthfulness, benevolence and beauty, Jia Baoshan was also moved. He even felt guilty for deceiving her before. Mr. Cao said Jia Baoshan was actually not a bad person, and asked Han Shu why she did not consider him. Han Shu was also very helpless, saying he was completely not her type. However, Mr. Cao was also a straightforward person, saying that children from the oil field would eventually return to the oil field. Yuan Yong discovered Shiaozi's cochlear implant and didn't understand what it was. When he found out his youngest daughter was deaf, he felt a bit of heartache. At this time, Li Si, feeling unhappy, came here to relieve his boredom. They quickly turned off the lights. The amusement equipment was built by the 3 fathers, so they were used to coming here to play whether they were happy or unhappy. To stop Cheng Yaya from coming to find her, Yuan Yong told Yuan Shanqing to write a note and stick it on the door, saying she was taking Shiaozi out to play for a few days and telling everyone not to worry. The clever Cheng Yaya suspected something had happened to her because they had previously agreed to study together during the winter break. This winter break was eventful. Li Dahai also ran into trouble. The oil industry organized a volleyball competition, and he had always been the captain of Factory No. 2. This year, his opponent was Factory No. 3, which wasn't a big deal. The deadly part was that the captain of Factory No. 3 was his first love, Si Shuang. Even scarier, Niu Lingling dressed up very beautifully today to cheer for him. While everyone went to watch the volleyball match, Yuan Shanqing dressed very discreetly, wanting to go out to buy vegetables and daily necessities. Only Yuan Yong remained at home to look after Shiaozi. After Yuan Shanqing bought enough supplies and helped him, he planned to leave and continue his life on the run. Before leaving, looking at his children, he still couldn't bear to leave without giving them a little money. Just as he was about to climb out the window, Cheng Yaya came looking for Yuan Shanqing and bumped right into him. He originally intended to catch him, but Yuan Shanqing pulled Cheng Yaya back. Back at the volleyball match, Li Dahai and his team lost. Although Niu Lingling was unconvinced, she still declared her sovereignty by linking arms with Li Dahai. Rumor had it that Si Shuang had a daughter, and judging by her age, it was very likely Li Dahai's child. He felt very smug inside. At this moment, Chen Pengfei and Li Dahai suddenly had an idea and looked at Yan Yang Songbai meaningfully. If he just went home and argued with Hu Yue, forcing them to intervene and mediate, wouldn't that solve everything? For the sake of his brother's life, he disregarded the danger to himself and went home to provoke Hu Yu in every possible way. Seeing her angry, Yang Songbai ran into Hu Chuman's room. He claimed Hu Yu had gone crazy and was about to fight, telling her to quickly find Jia, Daiyu and Aunt Nu Lingling. So, Hu Chuman went to fetch Jia Daiyu and Nu Lingling, and Chen Pengfei, feeling uneasy, followed to coordinate. Sure enough, Yang Songbai was nearly strangled to death by them. Taking advantage of this, Li Dahai went to find Si Shuang. It turned out the child belonged to Si Shuang's brother and sister-in-law. Because they died in a mudslide, leaving only the newborn baby, she claimed to be the mother, so the child would have a home. Moreover, at that time, she truly loved Li Dahai, so she let him go to marry Nu Lingling. Now seeing them so happy, she knew her choice was right. The strong man shed tears and ran back emotionally to hug Nu Lingling, sincerely apologizing to her, and finally saving Yang Songbai, who had nearly lost his life. Time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, the Lunar New Year was approaching. Neighbors began setting off fireworks, symbolizing that these troublesome matters had temporarily come to an end. Cheng Yaya was terrified that Yuan Yong would return. In fact, Yuan Shanqing was also still scared. Because Jia Baoshan refused to go home, Grandma and Grandpa came to their house for the New Year. The grandparents were a funny couple. Grandma was principled and argumentative, specializing in picking fights with people who displeased her, creating tension. Even Grandpa had been teased by her for decades, and he would find all sorts of ways to tease her back. So these two had been wrestling with each other all their lives, and life was full of joy because of it. Hearing that his father secretly met his first love, Li Si felt aggrieved for his mother. He blocked Li Dahai on the street and scolded him, but Li Dahai wasn't good at explaining and was too lazy to say much to his useless son. This made Li Si very unhappy. Chen Miao Miao went to his house to comfort him. The two naturally went from arguing to chatting and confiding in each other. This relationship was truly hard to come by. Knowing her son scolded Li Dahai for her sake, Nu Lingling told Li Si about Si Shuang. Moreover, she also admired Si Shuang very much. In fact, Li Dahai loved them very much. He just hoped his son would become successful, so he often got angry. To give them a way out, when Li Dahai returned home, Nu Lingling told Li Si to serve him a cup of tea. Because of the holiday, the teachers all went back to their hometowns. Only Xiaofan persevered until the end and didn't have time to buy a train ticket. Upon learning this, Jia Baoshan grabbed a blanket and queued all night to buy a train ticket for Xiaofan. But unexpectedly, he bought the wrong one. Although the train ticket was wrong, this time Xiaofan knew he genuinely wanted to apologize. Seeing that Xiaofan had to celebrate the New Year alone at school, he invited her to his home, saying it would be more fun with more people. Yuan Shanqing wanted to make some steamed buns herself to bring along and celebrate the New Year with everyone. Cheng Yaya had always been helping her. Over at Nu Lingling's, she also prepared all kinds of gifts for Li Dahai. She said that celebrating the New Year was ostensibly visiting relatives for a reunion, but in reality, it was for socializing and networking. As for Hu Chouman's brother, Yang Dao, who always lived inside the phone, he finally returned. He even brought his sister a bottle of French perfume. Chiang Xiaowa's brother, Chiang Daiwa, who worked far away, also returned for the New Year. If Grandpa picked up 5 more children, they could form the 7 fairies. In our childhood, we loved the New Year the most, but the older we get, the less festive the atmosphere becomes. Perhaps it's because the people who used to celebrate the New Year with us have changed, or perhaps it's because we have understood the cruelty of reality. No matter what, the New Year is hope. We must start over in the New Year and strive to achieve our goals. The whole family raised their glasses to celebrate. Do you remember the happiest things about celebrating the New Year as a poor child? Was it wearing beautiful new clothes or being able to visit everywhere to receive red envelopes? For Yuan Shanqing, the happiest thing was hearing Shiaozi call her sister. Yuan Shanqing took Shiaozi to Chen Yaya's house for dinner. Grandma and Grandpa fought to hold Shiaozi. Indeed, children are always pampered. Jia Baoshan also brought Xiaofan home. Chen Miao Miao avoided them as much as she could. Seeing their son bring a girlfriend home, the grandparents were naturally very happy. This family had a total of 12 people. How lively it was when they ate. Li Si's New Year's wish was to succeed Li Dahai as director in the future, but he was kicked away by his father in disgust. On Hu Chumin's side, since her brother returned, the atmosphere had been much more harmonious. Yang Dao was very sensible and spoke pleasantly. The whole family was happy, and nothing was more important than this. Chang Shao's family was simple, but they made dumplings together. Hearing his brother Chang Daiwa tell stories about working in the city, Chang Shaowa and Grandpa were both very happy. The next day, the children went around visiting and wishing everyone a happy New Year. Chang Shaowa specially gave Cheng Miao Miao a box of wild vegetable steamed buns. Cheng Miao Miao immediately gave him the candy in her hand. The two looked at each other affectionately, like love. Before they could say a few words, Li Si arrived carrying big and small bags. Although Li Si wasn't smart in his studies, his eloquence was remarkable. As soon as he entered the door, he made Grandma and Grandpa extremely happy. He even prepared gifts for Yuan Shanqing and Shiaozi. He was truly a good man, marriage material. Before she could turn her head, Hu Chuman also brought her brother to wish everyone a happy new year. Afterward, Chen Miao Miao and Li Si went to find Qiang Shaohua to wish the brothers a happy new year. Seeing his brother's best friend come to wish them a happy new year, the brother was also very happy. Meanwhile, Cheng Yaya took Yuan Shanqing and Shiaozi for a stroll on the street, eating cotton candy and playing games. Everyone had a lot of fun and took many family photos. After the new year, the grandparents would return home, so Grandma knitted sweaters for everyone. Everyone got one. Jia Daiyu complained that the sweater was old-fashioned but couldn't bear to take it off. Even Yuan Shanqing and Shiaozi got one. The two sisters were now children who were loved. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the singer and dancer of No 2 Middle School of Lingqi, Cheng Miao Miao, to the stage. What makes a teenage girl so free and unrestrained? After the Lunar New Year, school started very quickly. It was said that for the writing competition this time, whoever won first place would represent the school in Qingdao for the national writing competition. As the student with the best grades in the class, Qiang Shaohua unsurprisingly won first place. Therefore, naturally, he was the one to represent the school to compete in Qingdao. Although he could represent the school, Qiang Shaohua wasn't very happy because he feared he wasn't as good as the city kids and didn't want to waste money. Cheng Miao Miao and her friends decided that, acting as his guardian angels, the four of them would go to Qingdao together. Since the competition took place during the Labor Day holiday, coinciding with a 3-day break, everyone went home to ask their parents for permission to go to Qingdao. Chen Pengfei was very easygoing, saying that if they wanted to go, they could go. After the new year, Jia Daiyu wanted to kick Jia Baoshan back home. For the sake of both love and career, Jia Baoshan decided to work as a chef in the school cafeteria. Therefore, he invited Xiaofan to the astronomy classroom to stargaze and considerately made Sprite chicken wings for her. Xiaofan felt this guy was quite romantic. Unexpectedly, as soon as she heard Jia Baoshan say he wanted to work in the school cafeteria, Xiaofan got angry, and conflict arose between them again. When Labor Day arrived, Hu Chuman couldn't make it, so Chen Miao Miao and the two friends went in the rain to register. Back at the hotel, being in a big city for the first time, Chen Miao Miao was as active as a monkey. She was curious about everything and happily danced an impromptu dance. On the other side, Yang Songbai's mother said she would come to the oil field but didn't enter their house. Not only did Yang Songbai waste the opportunity to go to Qingdao, but Hu Yu had also prepared so much, so she drank and chatted with Yang Songbai all night. The two of them decided to divorce peacefully. Often, we always think we have grown up. Only when we arrive in a big city do we discover that the outside world is nothing like we imagined. Reality and ideals are two completely different things. Only when we experience the hardships of life do we understand how great the price of maturity is. Famous director Stephen Chow once said that sometimes you think you just missed a person, but actually, you missed a lifetime. Perhaps fate always likes to play jokes on us. Hu Chuman thought her family had been harmonious recently. Just when they were finally about to become a real family, Hu Yue and Yang Songbai divorced. To take care of Hu Chuman and her daughter, Yang Songbai chose to leave with nothing. Hu Yue went traveling to Beijing. She had been stuck in the oil field for half her life, and it was time to see what the world looked like. While taking Qiang Shaohua to the competition, Li Si and Cheng Miao Miao finally found their ideals. They promised that in the future, they would take the exam for the film university together to become actors. The two would take good stage names, one named Sun Chan, the other named Zilu. As for Qiang Shaohua, he lived up to expectations and won the third prize. Since only the first prize received a trophy, Li Si and Cheng Miao Miao handmade a medal for Qiang Shaohua. Qiang Shaohua hugged his two best friends tightly. The oil field didn't have amusement parks. Only when coming to the big city for the first time did they realize that some children's childhoods could be that happy. However, Li Si's stomach was constantly uncomfortable. Knowing that Hu Chuman's parents had divorced, the three of them went to comfort her immediately upon returning to the oil field. This is the meaning of good friends. Shiaozi finally started learning to speak, and only then did they understand why Cheng Yaya had been teaching. Jia Baoshan went to Nu Lingling's restaurant to work as a lobby manager because he wanted to prove to Xiao Fang that he was a man she could rely on. When a man finally becomes mature, the only thing that changes him can be love. People truly only cherish many things after losing them. Hu Chuman visited Yang Songbai at the factory for the first time. She suddenly understood his hardships over the years and the burden on his shoulders, she also felt for the first time that having such a father was truly something to be proud of. But heaven wasn't ready to let them off yet. In 1998, a heavy rainstorm occurred. Both the oil field and the school were fighting the flood. Lee Da-hai didn't even have time to get dressed before rushing to the front line. This was likely to be a restless, rainy night. The machinery in the factory encountered some serious problems. The gas tank pressure relief valve broke and needed manual pressure relief. Yang Songbai went to that dangerous place without hesitation. He succeeded, but he also failed. The successful mechanical pressure relief saved a major crisis, but he fell from a height. He was taken to the operating room. No life can be without disasters and difficulties. In every one of our peaceful days, perhaps it is because countless people have blocked danger and darkness. There are stories where we can guess the beginning, but cannot guess the ending. With nowhere else to go, Yuan Yong resorted to stalking his daughter. After some thought, he chose to turn himself in. Due to the large sum involved, added to the assault charges and multiple other offenses, he was ultimately sentenced to 12 years and 96 months. To allow Cheng Yaya and Yuan Shanqing to focus on their studies, Cheng Pengfei and Jia Daiyu adopted Shiaozi. Eventually, both Cheng Yaya and Yuan Shanqing were admitted to their dream university in Qingdao. Once they started working, they brought the entire family to Qingdao to live. Shiaozi also grew up, studied in Qingdao, and even met a very handsome boyfriend. Cheng Pengfei and Jia Daiyu treated this daughter as their own flesh and blood. Even though she was grown, they still frequently picked her up from school. Every time her sister and brother-in-law came home, she happily shared interesting stories from school with them. Cheng Miao Miao and Li Si, who had become big stars, would still frequently call home to check on everyone when they were away filming. It turned out that earlier, when Li Si was diagnosed with cancer after a checkup, he had rented Qiang Shaohua's boat to go out to sea, intending to jump where no one was around. But the more Qiang Shaohua thought about his instructions, the more something felt off. So, he secretly followed him, rescued Li Si as he was jumping into the sea, and took him to the hospital. As a result, when the emergency specialists examined him, it turned out his cancer was just internal hemorrhoids. Because the medical equipment at the time wasn't precise, it turned into a huge misunderstanding. His parents took the opportunity to have the hemorrhoid surgery done for him. News of this incident spread to the school, and Li Si was teased by everyone for 3 months. After the college entrance exam, everyone successfully got into their desired schools. Xiao Miao and Li Si had great talent for acting, and combined with their catchy new stage names, Sun Qian and Zi Lu, they became famous instantly. Qiang Shaohua became a school principal and married Hua Er, eventually having a daughter named Qiang Shaohua. The whole family was happy and fulfilled. After moving to Hong Kong, Hu Chuman met a very good boyfriend. They had a child together and were preparing to get married. To help cure Yang Songbai's legs, Yang Dao went to study in Australia and finally found a treatment method for him. Seeing that their son was earning money, Li Dahai and Nu Lingling transferred the restaurant to Jia Baoshan and Xiao Fang, then retired to travel the world. Whenever Li Si didn't have time, it was Cheng Miao Miao who called to report on their situation. There was truly nothing to complain about with such a daughter-in-law. Li Si finally took the opportunity while filming to kiss Cheng Miao Miao, and the two finally got together. And so, everyone returned to the oil field for a reunion. Looking back on their youth, they couldn't help but sigh with emotion.